today we will be looking at summary writing. Yes, we are going to sum it up. And Ms. Hines will join me now with the lesson's objectives. Let's sum it up. What does that mean? We're bringing everything together concisely but accurately. Over to you, Ms. Hines.
Good morning, everyone. Now let us take a look at our lesson objectives today. Now, we have 2 key lesson objectives noted, but I will further on give you a third that I also think is critical to today's lesson. Now, the first is, in summary, you must know how to extract specific information from what is read or heard. Also, you must be able to identify main and subordinating ideas in order to communicate information clearly and precisely in written instructions and in summaries, as we have previously mentioned. So let us look today on what is a summary.
A summary is a short version of an original piece. That's basically my definition, putting it as simple as possible. It is a shortened version of the original piece. We have that, students? Do you remember that? Because it's really reminding you. Now, for the purpose of exam, because you'll be sitting the CSEC English A exam, yes, you're going to do so, COVID-19 or not. It is in written form. So it's a shortened version in written form of the given passage. That's the one, section A, that will be put right before you.
So let us take a closer look at what may seem like a simple paragraph. Now, in this paragraph, it reads 36 words. Note, skipping breakfast might seem like an easy way for dieters to cut calories. However, new research finds that the majority of people who are successful at losing weight and keeping it off eat breakfast every day. Now, if we were to think about how to sum this up, make this brief
and accurate.
And accurate, thank you. Then we must think, what did he just say in all of that? Simple. He is telling us that research has shown that people who wish to lose weight do not skip breakfast.
12 words, Ms. Hines.
12 words.
Make that division. How many words did he delete? Do that at home in the comfort of your settee.
That's your mathematical assignment.
Not ours.
Not ours. Now let us look at some of the do's and don'ts when you're summing it up.
Thumbs up.
Now, let us start with reading the passage carefully.
Twice if necessary.
All right. Then
3 times if necessary.
Who knows? Depending too on the complexity of the extract.
Yes. So boys and girls, sorry, young ladies and gentlemen, what she's really telling you is that don't be flustered. You read it at first and you don't understand. Many times I read something and I don't get it at the first go. Just read it again. And if you still don't get it, read it again. It's going to come to you, all right?
Now, after you've read once, twice, thrice, then you identify and underline the main idea in each paragraph and any other relevant information you may need. Because think about it, even though you may find the main idea, you may extract the main idea, there may be some bit of information there that is relevant to understanding clearly what the main idea is saying.
Exactly.
So now let us look. What is main idea? Now, all of you I know should remember this, but let us refresh our memories, shall we? Now, the main idea is the overall point of the paragraph. Again, the main idea is the overall point of the paragraph. So ask yourself, what is the writer really saying here?
So essentially is what the writer is really saying. We can sum that up in a sentence or so.
In a sentence or so. And if we return to our previous example, what was the writer really trying to say? He was simply saying, research shows that people who lose weight do not do what?
Do not skip breakfast.
There you go. Now, it is also important to note, students, that sometimes the main idea is not directly stated. So you're not going to look into the topic sentence and see the main idea staring and glaring at you and saying, here I am, take me out.
It is implied.
It is sometimes
So I have to
implied.
read and decide based on what I read what the writer is saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
Also, CSEC now furnishes you with a section for you to make note of the main idea.
Yes.
So you don't forget it.
So those are important do's. What are the do's?
No, we have some more do's. Now let us look at 2 other do's quickly. Now that you have the relevant information, your next move is to paraphrase. And quickly remind me, Ms. Tingley.
Paraphrase is really to reword, rephrase, restate, or rewrite.
There you go.
What does it mean to paraphrase? It means restating in your own words the work of another person. And there are some techniques that you use in effectively paraphrasing. 2 of them are the use of synonyms. You remember, students, what are synonyms again? That's right. They are
words that are similar in meaning.
mean the same thing, right? And also, you condense ideas by making them shorter. 2 very important techniques that you ought to remember.
Now, another is the technical jargon or scientific language that you may see in the extract. Now, there are some jargon that you cannot change. You must use them. For example, if you were to discuss the novel coronavirus, there is no synonym to that.
Not yet. We don't know. All right, and you use connectives appropriately to create unity and cohesiveness in your response. For example, the use of the word however, a very, very popular connective. It is used to join
2 contrasting ideas.
And here is a quick example for you. Michaela is very attentive in class. However, her grades are generally low. Now it stands to reason if she's attentive, you would expect her to get, or she's always participating also, her grades would not be low, average at the most. So you see how they contrast? Now therefore is another connective. And let us look. It shows, Ms. Hines, the result of an idea or an action. Let us now look at Mikhail. Now, Mikhail is very attentive in class. Therefore, his grades are generally high. You see the difference? So, however, contrasting, therefore similar. So it is very important, students, that you use the connectives appropriately, or else it throws off your writing completely. Now, some other commonly used connectives, which I'll remind you of, as I told you that I'm such a wonderful human being, so I'll give you some more. Additionally, join me. Finally,
also,
because, but, although,
and thus.
And listen to me now. School's not out. Therefore, you are going to create a bank of connectives on your own because you're going to need them to write the summary when it is time to write the summary. Okay? Now to some don'ts. Miss Hines walked you through the do's. She's a good girl. You see who I am here? That's Cowell. Do not change the writer's intention or the meaning of the passage. Do not change that. You know what happens to us? When we are attempting, as teachers, we tell you so much to rewrite in your own words as much as possible. So when you're attempting to do that, you sometimes end up changing the intent of the writer or the meaning of the passage. You go off key a little bit. You know, when an organist on his organ there playing and it goes off key, so the song is one way and the tune is the other.
Oh, yes.
So is your summary. The original passage is saying this, and when you summarize it, it's saying something completely different. Don't change. What the writer means is what he has said. Leave it alone. Thank you so much. Now you also avoid or you delete, click that button, delete, repetition, say them with me,
repetition, illustrations or explanations, statistical data, unnecessary examples, quotations or direct speech, and personal opinion. So we don't need to know what you are thinking.
All right, please. I think, in my opinion, those are not words or phrases that you use when writing the summary. Nobody asked you, okay? Just say what the writer has said in the passage in your own words. Whatever you think of COVID-19, it is disgusting. If the passage didn't tell you that, do not put it on paper. Now, here is one that is a major sore point. Do not lift the passage onto your paper. You see that cry? That is plagiarism and will score you, say it with me, 0. So some of us lift the passage like we're lifting weights and exactly the same passage and rewrite. We didn't ask you to rewrite, students. We asked you to summarize, and we already told you what that is. We do not want you looking like this person at the end of the summary. Do not plagiarize.
So you're telling me don't thief?
Whoa, that's a strong word, isn't it? So Miss Hines is saying plagiarism is thieving. But I'm thinking that we could look for a more euphemistic approach to plagiarism. But before we do that, we need to know what it is. Because I don't want to be called a thief. Plagiarism is... What is plagiarism? Think about it. It is the practice of taking someone else's work or ideas and passing them off as your own.
Thieving.
All right. But I am going to be a little bit more euphemistic, and the synonyms, words that mean the same thing, says that plagiarism is stealing,
thieving,
or piracy.
Thieving.
If she insists. All right. So do not plagiarize. Do not. You score a 0. And you saw the look on your friend's face. All right. Now, students, before we actually write a passage, we have a little illustration here for you. We are going to sum up Lolita. I like Lolita. She's my best friend. So if you thought Miss Hines was my best friend, now you know better. Lolita is my best friend.
I've been replaced?
You have been replaced. Now you notice Lolita. Look at her, students. Think of Lolita as the original passage. This is a passage that is put before you in the exam. This is what you read. Lolita, my best friend. Now I'm noticing here Lolita is wearing a bejeweled headband. Miss Hines, do you notice that? In the context of summary writing, if Lolita is the original passage and I want to take the headband off, what would that be?
The statistics?
Okay, so Miss Hines is saying the bejeweled headband there is the statistical data. So we remove that. Take it off, just do your thing, back up, okay? Notice that Lolita is heavily made up, her eyebrows are fancy, and she's wearing heavy eyeliner. Should we remove those, Miss Hines? What would we be removing?
That would be the repetition and the illustration over there.
All right. You know, I noticed too that Lolita is wearing a wonderful scarf around her face. Is there a name for that, Miss Hines?
Do you mean the gungat?
Okay. And is there a synonym for that? Another word that means the same thing?
Of course. Could it be the chunari?
There you go. So we remove, in my basic language, the scarf. But it is called the
gungat
or the
chunari.
Whatever. And here we have, here, Miss Hines, we are removing what looks to me to be tattoo. What is this we are removing now?
That could very well be the personal opinion.
Okay, then.
That's her personal statement.
And so we take all of this of Lolita. She gave me permission to do that, all right? So we are removing all of this from Lolita, summing her up, the original passage, and in doing that, we removed all of this. What have we here, Miss Hines? There you go. Now here is the summary. Lolita, the summary. Notice that Lolita is not wearing anything at all. Her gungat has been removed. Her bejeweled headband and all the things that we do not need, we have removed. Here though is Lolita, still Lolita. So even though we have removed some of the information, we have not changed the original meaning. Lolita is still Lolita. So the writer's intention remains the same. We have not changed the original meaning of the passage. Thank you, my best friend, Lolita. So when you go into the exam, just think Lolita and start removing and you'll get it right.
So let's pay attention to this exercise. Now, the instruction states very clearly, read the following extract carefully and then write a summary of it in not more than 120 words. Now, students, before I go any further, it is important for you to pay attention to the word limit given. You don't want to be going over the given word limit, and let us find out why, because CXC does explain to you clearly why you should not. So it reads, read the following extract carefully and then write a summary of it in not more than 120 words, and as far as possible in your own words. If the limit is exceeded, only the first 120 words of your answer will be read and assessed. So if you decide to write 130 or 140 words, they will not read past 120.
So Ms. Hines, explain something to me a little clearer. As far as possible in your own words. So it goes back to the technical jargons you were talking about.
Very much so.
You may not be able to change them. Don't sit there attempting to give me synonyms for technical jargons you do not even know. You are allowed to write the jargons as they stand.
Very much so. Your summary must be in continuous prose and in paragraph form. So let's just again recap. Let us refresh our memories, because you have learned this lesson since, how far back, Miss Tingling? Primary school, dare I say? What is a paragraph? Let me give you a few seconds to think about it. Now, a paragraph, in its simplest form, is a group of sentences that deals with one main idea. Not two, not three, one. This main idea is expressed in what we call the topic sentence.
But does it always, Ms. Hines? It is usually expressed.
It is usually expressed. Thank you for the correction. Because remember, we did say that sometimes you have to imply the meaning because it is not
stated.
There you go. Now, the supporting sentences that are also a part of your paragraph explains the main idea. So that is the excessive things that we saw on Lolita.
Lolita.
Well, pardon me, Lolita.
There you go.
Your best friend.
That's
Remember
right.
that?
Don't forget.
Now, the supporting sentences explains the main idea. So that is where you will put in your illustrations, your explanations, your statistics, your repetition, all of that. That, however, is not needed in your
summary.
Aha, very good. So somebody has been paying attention.
So you're saying the summary is really the bare essential.
The bare essentials.
Strip it right down.
Right down to its
only what I
form.
need to know.
The bare necessities.
Okay, of life.
Now let us look at the exercise. So we are going to do one together. Yes, I said it. Together.
You know what we're also going to do together, Miss Hines?
What's that?
Remind us that the repetition will trick you sometimes, because there are times when it is in a sentence form, and that same thought, the same idea will come back to you in a rhetorical question. It's the same thing. I've seen it happen over and over. But because it was stated differently, you put it back twice or thrice in the same summary where all we need is a bare essential. So if you give me an idea before, don't do it again because it comes in a question form the next time. It is still repetition, repeating the same idea. So it doesn't matter the form it comes in.
All right. So let's look at paragraph 1. And I'll read it for you because I'm kind like that, you know. The Caribbean is one of the most biologically diverse regions in the world, with a large variety of plant and animal species. The region has, however, lost many of the native species that have once inhabited it. Hurricanes, tsunamis, volcanoes, earthquakes, and such events, along with human developments on these small and often crowded islands, have destroyed many habitats. Two of the major causes of the loss of the wide variety of plant and animal life throughout the Caribbean are habitat fragmentation and invasive species. Others are deforestation, chemical pollution, fisheries, operations, and climate change. Now I want you to take a moment and allow all of that to sink in, allow all of that to be absorbed, and think carefully. Do you hear a specific main idea jumping at you? Or do you have to think more closely to extract what the writer is trying to say? Ms. Tingling, what do you think?
I am thinking here that my brilliant students at home have already decided what the main idea is. But you know, maybe I was not as brilliant. So I saw the Caribbean is one of the most biologically diverse regions in the world, with a large variety of plant and animal species as the main idea. And then I read again. The region has, however, lost many of the native species that have once inhabited it. Now, when I read the entire paragraph, students, I saw that the supporting details, the other information, all the other information was supporting this idea. So it meant, therefore, that the region, having lost many of the native species that once lived there, inhabited it, see me using synonyms, inhabited, live, that, therefore, is the main idea. However, the Caribbean, the first sentence is what you would consider as relevant information. We would need to know that it is biologically diverse. But the main point, so note carefully, the main idea may not necessarily jump at yours in the first sentence. The main idea comes anywhere in the paragraph, and also you might have to extract it by reading the entire paragraph. So note carefully as you look on the screen, all the other information support this point. So this, therefore, would definitely be the main idea. So jot that down, students. Jot down the relevant information, because you know what's going to come at the end. We are going to summarize. All right. Now let us look at paragraph 2. I will just continue reading for you. Habitat fragmentation occurs when there is a breakup of continuous ecosystems into fragments. It is seen as one of the leading causes of loss of biodiversity. Habitats are altered and destroyed for various reasons, particularly along the coast in island states, to allow for development of houses, hotels, and factories. In many cases, mangroves are removed and make room for concrete structures. Mangroves are removed to make room for concrete structures. Mangroves act as natural barriers along the coast, preventing erosion and providing homes to many bird species, oysters, and crabs, among other species. And when the mangroves are removed, these species are displaced. Even threatened species such as turtles turn away from the beaches because the habitat that they once used as nesting grounds is now unsuitable. Many habitats in countries such as Guyana and Suriname are destroyed by activities such as logging, dredging, mining, and other developments.
Now, what do you see happening here, students? Do you recognize that there's something similar about this paragraph? Does it remind you of paragraph 1? Think about it. Now, do you realize that, like paragraph 1, we cannot just turn to one sentence to extract the main idea? Instead, we are forced to read through carefully several sentences to ensure that we are grasping precisely and accurately, right, Ms. Tingling?
Yes, ma'am.
What the author is trying to say. And what is he saying here in this paragraph? Now, he's saying to us that habitat fragmentation is seen as one of the leading causes of the loss of biodiversity.
How do you know that, Ms. Hines?
Now, we know this simply because throughout the rest of the paragraph, what he does is to explain how habitat fragmentation has led to the loss of biodiversity.
So he develops the point.
So he develops the points throughout.
All right.
He also goes as far as to give examples of countries that are suffering from this great loss.
All right.
Or dare I say, decline, decimation.
Synonym.
Now, let us go even further and pay attention to the first sentence. Now, would we need sentence 1? Would we
what
consider
you call relevant information, Miss?
There you go, it is.
Now I'm wearing my student hat, I'm bright.
Why is it relevant information? It is relevant information simply because it is a technical jargon that you don't know the meaning of. And so tell me,
It tells us
Singing,
about it.
It tells us about
It occurs when there is a
Continue.
break up of continuous ecosystems into fragments.
There you clap yourself, clap yourself. She got
So
it.
that's relevant information for your summary.
Exactly.
What am I going to get after class, Miss? Just asking.
How about a donut?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, think again, since you're on a roll today now, Shami. Think again. So you stay, man. So you see, you have to show them how brilliant you are so you can get the top prize. Now, would I change habitat fragmentation when I'm attempting to compose my summary?
Miss, you're not challenging me here.
Well, oops.
I would call that technical jargon. Because then you're going to say to me now, habitat fragmentation. So if I'm not a geography or social studies student, Miss, I'm going to be sitting there and saying, habitat, live, something to do with life and live. Fragmentation, like you break up and you mash up and stuff. So life mash up and all that. And you spend time being flustered and trying to get the synonym. You do not need a synonym. Habitat fragmentation remains as is. It doesn't trouble you. Leave it alone.
There you go. So it simply means that as a technical jargon, you will do what? You will
Don't know that one, Miss.
You will include it in your summary. Come on,
Put it in.
You put it in. You drop it in there.
Synonym was set.
That's right.
Okay.
So let's look at paragraph 3. But students, before I go, make certain that you are making note of the main idea as we go along, right? Very good. Paragraph 3. Invasive or exotic species are those that have been introduced either by accident or intentionally to a country where they are not naturally found. They become a threat to native species when they multiply and compete for space and food. Human migration and settlement have led to an introduction of exotic plants and animals for landscaping, hunting, livestock production, or biological pest control. Some plant species can grow rapidly, thus driving them to extinction. Similarly, the shipping and cruise ship industries have introduced numerous marine species from faraway regions through the ballast water of ships. So now, students, having read all of that content, look again. Tell us, do you see the main idea jumping at you, or do you need to dig a little deeper?
All right. By now, students, you have gotten this. You got this, right? You have seen the main idea. It may not be jumping at you, but hey, I've got this. What have you got? Did you get? Yes, they become a threat to native species when they multiply and compete for space and food. They who? It would be the invasive or the exotic species. So we read the entire paragraph to identify the main idea. Why are we saying this again, students? Because all the other paragraphs support this. what happens? They become a threat to native species. Native, the species who actually live there at them place, Jamaican fish and turtle and all them things, they become a threat. Those that are invasive, those that came in, all right, to those who live there. Human migration, livestock, all the things that help you to understand that these species become a threat. And they came in whether intentionally or by accident. Very important information to know. Yes, ma'am.
So you're telling me that these invasive or exotic species, them just drop in so because of some other things, some factors that are happening around.
Right. And
so by accident meaning that is coincidence.
They got here somehow.
Somehow. Or intentionally meaning somebody did it deliberately.
Took them here. All right. So whether or not, whichever way, they become a threat. And all the other sentences, the explanation is here.
Are simply supporting
the point that they become a threat. You read your paragraph carefully. By now you know there was a reason for selecting this passage, right? Because so many times I've seen this passage and the summary is done and the main ideas were wrong and it threw off the summary completely. So it is important, students, that you read the entire passage, look at which idea is being supported, because that is a central point of your paragraph, which we call the main idea. But we also need to know that that they were introduced by accident or intentionally to a country where they are not naturally found. So they are foreigners, all right? So they are invasive, and if you don't know if whether invasive and exotic means the same thing, which they don't, put it back. Because invasive speaks to the species that destroy more than anything, but you would not have had the time to research that. Exotic, they do not. So you see invasive, or do not decide to leave one out because it's repetition. It might not be. So to be safe, put them back. Ensuring that you write your summary properly. You have to maximize the 25 points allotted. So we want them to sum it up nicely. Sum it up. All right. Now let us look at the final paragraph. Final paragraph. It says here, any development will have a variety of effects on the environment. Heavy industrialization along the coast has contributed to marine pollution by runoff or effluent, which pose a significant threat to marine life as well as human health. The construction of golf courses, roads and hotels on the beaches has placed significant pressure on the environment. It is now estimated that 2/3 of the region's reefs are threatened from these direct human pressures. So can we then say that the main idea is a little clearer here? Do we need to dig deeper? No, miss. When I step over here, I'm a student, I see it jumping out at me. All right, wonderful. And since you see it jumping out at you, which sentence is jumping out at you, ma'am? Piece of cake, miss, piece of cake. All right. Any development, there you go, will have a variety of effects on the environment. Is that now a box of donut, miss? But of course. There you go. But of course, you don't want to up the ante a little? It's okay. Oh, all right, all right. So sad. Now, let us look at why Miss Tingling would so quickly jump to tell me that the topic sentence that is so clearly stated here has the main idea so precisely stated for you to see, big and bold. Why? Now, when you read the rest of the paragraph, tell me, what do you see happening? I see that the rest of all the other sentences are supporting this point that any development will have a variety, many of effects on the environment. It supports that fact. Very good. So that's why it jumped at me. That is why it jumped at you. Leapfrog. Excellent, excellent. Give yourself another round of applause. My God. A little louder. I don't think. All right, there you go. So, think about it, students. Now, when you are
penning your summary, are you going to leave this particular idea out?
No, miss.
No, you will not.
We need it.
We need it because this is our main idea. The rest of the paragraph supports the idea that development can have a myriad of effects on the environment. And
myriad.
enough, plenty.
Variety. Synonyms again. All right.
There you
you
go.
have it.
And when we talk about the environment, remember our environment is not limited only to the physical space. Our environment also takes into account our health, our social environment, the people we interact with. So don't think of the environment, students, now in a limited sense. And that is what you get when you read through the paragraph, because based on the information that it gives you, the supporting details that it gives you, you will recognize that the environment is not just a physical space.
So, miss, like human health, marine life. Okay.
There you go.
So those may be pertinent, relevant, important information that we include.
That you
just
would
asking,
include.
miss, to up it a little bit. Thank you.
Not a problem, ma'am.
All right. So now we will take a look at what the summary itself should look like. Remember, students, when we sum it up, we delete as much as possible all the information that is not necessary before you even look at the summary as what it should look like. I am hoping that you were at home taking copious notes, writing the main ideas, looking at the relevant information, and if you have identified any other in the passage, I am asking that you put them in and call us. You're going to get the information at the end to call us and let us know, miss, you missed this, because miss is not perfect. All right? So we are looking at the summary. We are summing it up. And remember, we would have removed a whole lot. Let's do a little math. If you have 1,500 words at the original passage, Miss Hines,
right.
Come on, mathematician. And in 100, you're asked to write a summary in 100 words. Pray tell the nation, how many words would I need to avoid? I don't put back. 1,005.
Hold on.
Yes.
I'm doing the math.
Oh, go ahead.
1,005.
She
take
won't.
the one, and there's
Yes.
and then you put it there, and
Lord,
so 1,400.
There
miss?
you go.
All
so
right.
you would need to delete, take away, move out, tell them to back up. 1,400 words. What do? We have to take out some.
So
when we're summing up, yes.
So when I sum up, this is going to be my natural Lolita.
Yes, but you don't. I have exclusive rights to Lolita. Call another
Excuse
name.
me.
Yes. So right, just
it will be your Lolita.
Yes, that
All right.
Lolita, the second image of Lolita will be your summary. Remember when you sum it all up, yeah, you take it away. You know, in my next life, I'm going to be a DJ. Let's do that again. When you sum it all up, hey, you take it away.
Hey.
Take away what? You're going to have to do that for yourselves at home in the comfort of your living room.
True, man. Man, just get ready for jumping.
When you sum it all up, hey, you take it away. When you sum it all up,
then you take it away.
Hey. Don't make me pastor see me, you know. Now let's look at the summary here. This is what it should look like. The Caribbean is regarded as a major biologically diverse region with many different plants and animal species. Unfortunately, many of its indigenous species no longer exist. This decline is due to several factors, with one of the most striking being habitat fragmentation, which occurs when the ecosystem is consistently broken apart. The influx of invasive or exotic species, whether by intent or accident, is another factor. Invasive or exotic species threaten indigenous species either when their numbers increase or when they vie for basic needs. This is a consequence of human and industrial factors, as any significant development will negatively impact our surroundings and health.
Does that sound to you, students, like what we read previously? Think about it. Now, considering all of the information that you were taking copious notes, you would have recognized from that they did tell us that the Caribbean is regarded as being
one of the most. But we said major.
We said
synonym.
major. Then they also told us that the native species, there is a loss of the native species.
So they no longer exist.
They no longer exist. Then it moved on to tell us that habitat fragmentation does what again?
Tell us, miss.
Habitat fragmentation, that is where the ecosystem get broken up and mash up.
Yes.
The idea of the fragment, the breaking up. Because of that, what happens? It has led to a loss in biodiversity. Then it also told us about the invasive or exotic species. Now, what happens with them? Now, when it happens, invasive or exotic species enter, and we find that they enter into our environment or ecosystem, either accidentally or deliberately, then what happens is that they pose a risk to indigenous species. And finally, it pointed us to the fact that development can also impact our environment.
All right.
So now, students, this is our version of the summary, and we are going to ask you at home to take the time, using the copious notes that you took, to actually pen your version.